Welcome back, Packers fans, as Brennan and I continue on taking a look at each of the Green Bay Packers draft picks from this year. If you've missed any of them up to this point, head over to my YouTube page. If you're feeling generous, please hit subscribe. We've covered everyone up to this point through Cole Van Lanen in the 6th round, so now we're on to the next selection, which is Isaiah McDuffie, linebacker from Boston College. But first, as always, Brennan, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. Excited to talk about this linebacker that is going to probably bring some special teams thump to the team.
Absolutely, and some much-needed special teams thump, I'll add to that.
Yes. Very much so.
I wanted to start, before we specifically dive into McDuffie, taking a look at the linebacker position in general, because once the draft is over, Brian Gutekunst made some comments that the Packers were looking to target the linebacker position earlier than what they did. And as I know we've talked about on here before, teams don't have control over how the board falls. Just because early on they don't take your favorite player, your favorite position, a position of need, it doesn't mean that the team has ignored it or forgotten about it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you just don't have control over who's there. And this sounds like a prime example of that taking place. Linebacker was on the Green Bay Packers radar. They didn't have the opportunity to take it. So let's take a look at the linebacker position in general. With one, does it surprise you that it was on their radar early on? And to preface, by early on, I guess we don't really know what that means. To me, that means a top 100 pick is how I'll take it. I still am of the thought that it did not mean first round, just because that's so against the grain for the Green Bay Packers. But a second-round pick, a third-round pick, absolutely in play. They just did it a few years ago with Oren Burks. Mm-hmm. So, Brennan, did that surprise you that they were looking at that linebacker position early on?
Not really, no. Gutekunst said in the season-ending press conference that linebacker, they need to get more production from that linebacker group. And then you pair that with the hiring of Joe Barry, who has a history of coaching linebackers. Maybe Gutekunst wanted to get his new defense coordinator a shiny new toy at linebacker, having someone that can patrol the middle of the field. And if you remember, the Buccaneers had the best linebacker probably duo in the league, and Devin White and Levante David absolutely wrecked the Packers the first game they played. And they played really well in the Super Bowl too, so Gutekunst saw firsthand what a linebacker like that can do for a defense. And so maybe, again, I agree with you. I don't think they were looking at a first round. Maybe if someone fell to them, sure. But I think they definitely probably wanted to take one second, third round. It just didn't fall that way.
I'll say what I've said all offseason about the linebacker position or written about. I think the Green Bay Packers are 100% fine if they go into the season with Chris Barnes and Kamal Martin as their top two linebackers. I don't think they have any issue whatsoever. I think where the concern lies is the depth. Yeah. Those are both second-year players. There's still room for growth, which is, I mean, that's a positive because they both really flashed last season, popped. But both missed time with injuries as well. Kamal Martin's injury history goes back to college at Minnesota. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, if one of those guys are down, or hopefully not both of them, but if both of them are down, I mean, you're looking at Oren Burks, who we know, I think we just know who he is at this point, just to kind of put it simply. Ty Summers, again, a special teams player, fine against the run, but not someone you want out there in coverage. And then Isaiah McDuffie, who we'll get to here shortly. So I think a big part of their concern was just adding to the linebacker room just to have at least some more reliable depth. Obviously, it's still an upgradable position. That's not to say that Martin and Barnes, they couldn't have found someone better. But I do think that they are absolutely comfortable with those two. And one other thing that Goody mentioned, and they haven't done it yet, which goes against what Goody does. When Goody says something, we need to listen. When he says, hey, we're looking at this position, the Packers are usually looking at that position and they're going to make a move. Well, after the draft, in addition to that comment, he said that they were looking into veteran linebackers. So obviously that hasn't happened yet. The roster's at 90. If you had to make a guess right now, do you think they add another linebacker before training camp, during training camp?
I'm going to say no, but I think as each day passes and KJ Wright is still out there, and if Aaron Rodgers does come back, it's. I think he might be waiting until training camp. KJ Wright, he's a veteran, so maybe he's waiting until training camp till maybe a team gets desperate, maybe like the Packers. Maybe they're going to come and offer him something that he can't turn down. But like you, I agree that I think they would be completely fine if Barnes and Martin were their starting linebackers to start the season. But I don't think they could pass up adding a guy like KJ Wright, a veteran who has played in big games, who would probably be someone that could be a missing piece to help this team get over the hump if Aaron Rodgers is back. So
Right.
I'm going to say no, I don't think they're going to, but as each day looms and KJ Wright's still out there, maybe Gutekunst gets aggressive and goes and gets that piece.
One other name I'll throw out there, I believe he's still on the free agent market, is Devondre Campbell. He's not going to command the same price as KJ Wright, may not carry the same impact as KJ Wright, but all around he's a solid player. Against the run, a blitzer, and coverage, he's not going to be a liability on third downs, on passing downs. Not to say that that's a strong suit of his by any means, but if you're looking for kind of an all-around player that you can plug in, add some depth, he's not going to break the bank. I think he played on a 1-year deal with Arizona last year for $5-ish million. And we all know the market this year, just because of the cap restrictions and all that, is taking a dive. So maybe he comes in at less, especially with camp approaching so quickly. But that's just another name that I like. As far as to answer my own question, so I'm not just putting the spot on you, if I had to guess, I'll say yes, just because I'm going to fully trust Goody on this, because he said it, and I'm just going to fully buy into that. But it's 100% a guess. I have no clue. I honestly thought that open roster spot earlier this week was going to go potentially towards a linebacker instead of a receiver.
Even the guy that just got from the Cardinals, Hicks, too, Jordan Hicks, this is a guy that I thought maybe they would go sign until they sign that receiver. But again, it's one of those things where Devondre Campbell would be a nice pickup for them. It's not going to be a guy that people are going to get all excited about like they would with KJ Wright. But I think that would be a very good, solid pickup for them this late into the offseason.
And one other thing I want to add about just the linebacker position as a whole in this new Joe Barry defense, if you downloaded, bought, read the Cheesehead TV draft guide, there was an excellent piece in there by Ross Uglum, the publisher of Packer Report, where he went through and kind of broke down position by position what we can expect from those positions under Joe Barry. And when we got to linebacker, he made a point that kind of backs up what we were saying about the Packers being fine with Martin and Barnes as their two, because he pointed out that this defense doesn't really put stress on those linebackers. They do a terrific job of keeping them clean. And he just made a very good and simple example of, if we go back to last year's free agency period, I can't remember who else was a free agent linebacker, but Corey Littleton, I know he maybe was the best one available. I know Packers fans were all about signing him. Well, the Rams lost him. He went to Oakland, and this Rams defense was still number one in the league in scoring. They didn't miss a beat. So he kind of used that as his evidence to back up what he was saying, and that it's not a position where they're going to be fully stressed. And with that defensive front operating differently, they're kept clean a lot easier as well. So I think obviously that as a whole is just going to benefit those guys.
Well, even to touch on that, you said the Rams are number one defense. I don't even think I could tell you who the Ram linebackers were last year. So it's one of those things where I don't think you need a guy that's like Devin White that's going to be a game changer. I think you just need guys that are going to be in there to do the job. And like you said, this defense is about keeping them clean. And Kamal Martin and Barnes, those guys play 100 miles per hour. They play downhill.
Especially Martin.
They're going to be just fine in this defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Martin, honestly, that's something he's got to almost tone back a little bit, because he's missing plays because he's so aggressive. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love that. I would rather tell a guy, hey, reel it back a little bit, than tell him, hey, you got to ramp it up. Let's go. So I absolutely love that, but that's something to watch, just playing with a little more control this season.
Mm-hmm.
But now we are here to talk about Isaiah McDuffie. So, Brennan, let's start here with where he thrives. So his 2018 season was really his coming out party at Boston College. 85 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 14 pressures. He was hurt in 2019, only played in a few games, and then 2020 again had another strong performance. Statistically, 107 tackles, 7 for loss, 3 sacks, again, 14 pressures. So what does he do well as a player at the linebacker position?
It's kind of like the Kamal Martin pick. He knows one speed. It's 100 miles per hour. He plays like his head is on fire. He's so good in the box against the run. He's an enforcer. Again, this defense is a defense that needed an attitude adjustment. I think Aaron Nagler was the one that kind of talked about that. And a guy like McDuffie is going to come in and play hard. He's going to hit hard. He's going to make sure this run defense is going to be fortified. He blows plays up. He doesn't always make the play, but he has an impact on it. It's kind of like Kamal Martin, where he's maybe going to blow a blocker up, and then someone else is going to come free and make the tackle. He has the sideline the quickness. I think he ran a 4.58 40. He has a high football IQ. He beats offensive linemen to the blocks. As a blitzer, he shows good closing bursts. I think he had eight and a half career sacks. So he's a guy that was a day 3 pick. It's kind of like Kamal Martin. Maybe he's going to fight for some starting reps at linebacker. But at the end of the day, he's a special teams ace that's going to help improve this team. Those are the kind of things that he does well.
I absolutely noticed that as well. Just his ability in the box, that short area quickness to explode, attack the play. It's all really exciting to watch. And like you said, and put it very well, that's where he thrives. But if we kind of venture outside of that, as some areas that he has to improve on. And for me, I think the big one is the coverage ability. Granted, very few linebackers are going to put up impressive stats, but 80% completion percentage he allowed, 12 yards per catch, only 4 pass breakups on 68 targets. I think that's the obvious one. And what is it about his coverage ability that I guess is lacking?
I think part of it's just the fact that he's unable to get his head turned around when he is in man coverage. I think he shows good feel for zone coverage. I don't know if he just lacks the read and react skills to get to the ball on time. He has athleticism to be excellent in coverage. I don't know if he's put it all together. Or maybe something coaching is going to help him with, but that is definitely an area where he needs to improve. And again, maybe he's a guy that will only play the first 2 downs and come off the field. But that, I think I agree with you. His coverage skills are severely lacking. And again, that's part of the reason why he was a day 3 pick, 6th round guy. But if you're wanting a guy that's going to make an impact on special teams, this is your guy. He's going to be coming downhill fast against the kick return, and he's going to be on the punt return units probably as well.
I think you hit on two key words there, read and react, because like you said, his athleticism is there. That's, some linebackers struggle in coverage because they're just slower. They can't keep up with the running backs, with the tight ends. From an athletic standpoint, that's not the case here. I mean, go search his name on Twitter, go to videos, and you're going to find several clips of him running downfield, like 15, 20, 25 yards downfield with the running back and staying even with them. The athleticism is not an issue. Pro Football Focus, in line with what you said, they called him a reactor in coverage versus a playmaker, and referenced the diagnosing of kind of what's going on around him in coverage as a potential reason why he's struggled in that area. Like you said, we don't necessarily see that in the box or by any means against the run, but in coverage, that's what they noted there: reactor versus a playmaker, and going with what he's seeing.
It could be as simple as the fact that he's in his own head, where he's trying to just look at the whole field, and instead of just dialing on what he's doing, he's looking at everything instead of just what his responsibility is. And so it's one of those things that I think coaches can maybe unhinge that from him, unlock that, because again, he has the athleticism. That's not the issue. I think his struggles in coverage are all mental, and I think once he kind of just learns what's going on, I think he's going to hone in on that and develop.
And someone on the team already, Oren Burks, kind of similar in that regard. And here's how I'll make that comparison. Burks, a converted safety at Vanderbilt, the Packers drafted him for that coverage ability. And I live here in Green Bay. I go to training camp practices often. There are practices where in coverage, he's sticking with Aaron Jones out of the backfield. And you're like, holy cow, where is this? But then you watch him on Sundays when he gets in, and it comes down to that reacting ability, diagnosing what's going on. And that, at this level, even that split second of pause can make a world of difference. So Burks is someone who clearly has the athletic ability. It's just the diagnosing, reacting, and boom, go that quickly. Because like I said, I've seen him live. There's just some impressive reps, but he knows what Jones is doing. And obviously that helps. But still sticking with Aaron Jones, that's not something that every linebacker can do. And so last part here, we've touched on it already, kind of expectations for year one. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think either of us see him playing a significant role on the defensive side of the ball, but 320 career special team snaps at Boston College. And this is a unit that just needs some retooling. We're not asking you to be number one in the league, Green Bay. Let's just not be last. How about 20th? I mean, that would seem fantastic, especially after last year. It didn't matter. Kick return, punt return, coverage. Just it always felt like something was going wrong. Hopefully he can help turn that tide.
Yeah, it was always a roller coaster whenever it was special teams time. Even if it was just a simple kick return, it was like, okay, just please don't fumble. Please don't fumble. Please don't fumble. And so McDuffie, again, I don't think he's going to be a starter. But when you consider Barnes and Martin's injury history, maybe he will be pressed into it. And if he's the kind of guy that I think if he gets pressed into a starting role, I don't know if he's going to let it go, because I think he just plays so hard, so fast, that I don't think the Packers will want to take him off the field when he's out there. I think they could maybe live with some of his liabilities and coverage with how hard he plays.
Mm-hmm. And I do, after you saying that, I do want to retract what I said a little bit, because I personally think in the coming weeks here, I'm going to put together my pre-training camp roster prediction. And I think right now I'm going to have Oren Burks as one of the cut candidates. One reason they can save $1 million in doing so. You have McDuffie, you have Ty Summers as special teamers. So I know Oren Burks has been very good on special teams for the Green Bay Packers, but you expect more out of your third-round pick. And so just given where the Green Bay Packers are cap-wise, all of a sudden, if that happens, McDuffie's linebacker 4, you're an injury away from your name being called potentially, how he fits with Summers in that rotation. But like you said, you hit on it. I don't think expectations are for him to come in and play a big role right away, but injuries happen. When your name's called, you got to be ready. And he brings that intensity, like you said, a Kamal Martin-esque intensity, which I love.
So.
Well, there you have it, folks. As always, Brennan and I greatly appreciate you joining us. Like I said at the beginning, if you want to check out the previous videos, head to my YouTube page. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. You can find my work at Dairyland Express and Cheesehead TV. Brennan, let these folks know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Royal_Roop, and then you can find my work at GameOnWisconsin.com.
Until next time, friends, take care. We got Kylan Hill, exciting running back from Mississippi State, who we'll discuss next. Until then, take care, stay safe, and go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.